Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ayu Kurniawan, and today I will present my proposal paper about the use of Wattpad as a media for developing high school students' vocabulary mastery. So the first, we have the previous study of Wattpad and vocabulary. In general, Wattpad is a global multi-platform entertainment company for stories broadly based in Canada's startup capital, Toronto. It has more than 90 million users, with 90% of them being millennials and Generation Z. Wattpad has advantages as writing media, such as affordable, visually attractive, time-saving, and convenience. It also increases students' motivation to read and write and makes them feel more relaxed. While for the vocabulary study, Dixon finds that students can improve their vocabulary by reading and writing a journal based on the text they just read. It is quote, teaching vocabulary words within context of literature study after the selection is read. And according to Green, extensive reading and viewing cover much of the vocabulary in reading and writing vocabulary in the different disciplines. So we know that reading is connected with vocabulary. In order to develop vocabulary, you have to develop your reading skills, and therefore Wattpad as a reading application is suitable for this paper. And then the importance and research gap from this. The importance of this paper is that in this pandemic era, students spend less time to study in school and tend to spend their time in various social media platforms. Therefore, using social media for learning may be used as an approach to improve the learning outcomes. And the research gap from the previous research, the research about Wattpad are mostly focused on increasing motivation in reading and writing, while the research about vocabulary mostly about sharing the reading books or other print text, and the sample is mostly preschool children. There is no research about the use of Wattpad as the reading source to develop the vocabulary of high school students yet. The research question of this paper is first, is there any significant development in students' vocabulary after reading Wattpad? How many new words that the students learn in average after reading Wattpad? And how are the students' responses toward the implementation of Wattpad in teaching? And the objective are to find out whether there is a significant development in students' vocabulary after reading Wattpad, to examine the average number of new words that students learn after reading Wattpad, and to find out how the students respond to Wattpad implementation in teaching. The significance of this study for students, they may learn new method to help develop their vocabulary, and hopefully they will use this method to improve their English skills outside the school hours. And for researcher, the researcher may know whether Wattpad has significant effect for students' vocabulary development, and it may help in the future research related to the use of online platforms for English teaching and learning. The study limited to the use of the Wattpad website as the source of narrative reading and reading in English in order to develop the vocabulary mastery of high school students. The key terms of this paper, the first, Wattpad is a website and app for writers to publish new user-generated stories. Learning media is a tool in the form of physical and non-physical used by teacher in conveying materials to the students to be more effective and efficient. Vocabulary is the English word learned by the students after reading Wattpad, and the vocabulary mastery is the ability in understanding and using the word and meaning. Media is the means of assisting the process of teaching learning in order to achieve the learning objective. The media is divided into two, non-digital and digital media, or we can call it as the traditional media and the digital media. The digital media is a media whose content presented in machine-readable form or whose methods of production and distribution process entail various types of information technologies. It helps students mastering reading English, translating, and fostering communication, and gives students better understanding when blended with traditional learning. However, the efficiency of digital learning depends on the student's awareness of the current technology. Next, we have Wattpad. Several research about Wattpad is students prefer the out-of-school reading and writing activity using Wattpad rather than the traditional way, and that the traditional way is boring compared to Wattpad that has many genres of story that suits its students. Wattpad implementation in writing is useful, convenient, and time-saving for both students and teacher, and encourages them to write and gives students opportunity to interact with their readers. The teaching vocabulary, the children's alternative skill may influence their reading comprehension, which later may affect the children's vocabulary. And the integration of reading and responding to literature with a constructed vocabulary affects students' performance and attitudes, which are influenced by the text and the type of instruction. Based on these two research, we know that the vocabulary is affected by the reading. So in order to teach vocabulary, we have to develop students' reading skill. And then the next, there are three methods of teaching vocabulary so far. The first is read aloud and elaborative storytelling strategy. However, those methods did not give significant difference in the vocabulary gains of the group of children. And then we have shared book reading that only works after teachers taught the words to the students directly and link the words to the provided visual assistance. However, in the previous research, similar method with content-focused shared book reading program proved of a significant improvement on the preschooler science vocabulary and content knowledge. This research will have quantitative approach with pre-test and post-test questionnaire and students journal that we called as vocabulary book. This research will be in senior high school in Sidoarjo because we assume that students have personal smartphone and can access Wattpad anytime. The subject is a class of students consists of 30 until 40 students from the 10th grade because according to the recent curriculum, the 10th grade will learn about narrative text. First, we have pre-test and post-test score. So first, we will test the student about certain vocabularies that the research selected. And then after the research, after a month of research, then the student will be given the same question and the researcher will compare their score in the pre-test and post-test. And then we have vocabulary book that will be given in the beginning of the experiment. So students should write down their vocabulary that they learn each day. And after a month, the vocabulary book will be collected by the researcher. We also have questionnaires. So after the experiment, the students will be given a number of questions that they will answer in the questionnaires. And then a selected students will have a semi-structured interview so the research can have a deeper understanding based on their answer in the questionnaires. And after all the data were collected, we will calculate the gap between the student scores, the significance of this method, the number of words that the students learn in a month, the number of pages they learn in a month, the average of words that the class learn in a month, the average number of pages that the class read in a month, the average number of words that the class learn from a page. And then the researcher will group the students' opinion from the questionnaire about the implementation of Wattpad and generalize the class opinion about the implementation of Wattpad. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.